Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
This is our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like.
Check out the podcast below in the description.
Kind of in the same vein as what you said about Shanahan seeing elite level quarterbacks and thinking, I need one of those. I was thinking something similar just watching Brandon Aiyuk. Like, he will never fully tap his potential until he gets a quarterback that can throw the deep ball. So, people were tweeting at me after I tweeted, he's always open. Get him Stafford. Because he is, John, he's always open. Which, you tell me, as somebody who's scouted in the NFL, the ability of a receiver to get open, that feels like sometimes the thing we don't really know. Like, I remember last year, right, we would talk a lot about Ruggs or Judy. It'd be like, these guys are just running open by 30 yards. How do we really know if they can get off coverage at the line of scrimmage? This guy, I think he's answered the question pretty quickly. He can do that. His trend has been shooting upwards the last 4 games with Nick Mullins. He's averaging over 6 catches a game the last 4. He's basically a 100-yard receiver. He's got 4 touchdowns the last 4 games. He's got explosive plays. He makes 65% of his targets or catches, which is like a DK number. Like Tyreek, like guys that you're always throwing the ball deep to are the guys that catch. I was just looking today at the leaders. Those are the guys that are 65. Like Keenan, all these other guys are like in the 70s and 80s. That's
like
where
a Keenan, Michael Thomas, Devontae.
That's where Aiyuk should be. Because right now you're not throwing him the ball that much down the field, right? Like but they just, once they get a better quarterback, then I think we'll see his best. But already he's fantastic.
I saw a stat today: 28% of the Niners' targets the last 4 games since he's come back are going his way.
Well, he's had two. He's had like a 14 and an 11 target game.
Yeah, I mean I didn't envision him being this good. Maybe I underestimated him. Like I held the guys. It might have been the hype. Wouldn't you say of all the first round guys, we had the top 3: Judy, Ruggs, CD, huge hype. I say Justin Jefferson, he played at LSU. We all knew who he was. Now he's become a star. I mean, he's shattering rookie records. I saw someone saying, depending on how Herbert ends, he does have a chance to win Rookie of the Year. Like, his numbers could just be, they might make the playoffs. If he makes the playoffs, he's arguably their best player on their team and has like 1,300-yard season. Like,
He's got the Bucks this week too, John. If he plays well against the Bucks, that'll only elevate him.
Yes. So, I think a little Jalen Reagor and Aiyuk, me personally, I didn't know that much about. I knew more about Aiyuk than Jalen Reagor just because I've watched more Pac-12 than Big 12. And I know Jalen had a down season last year. But I just felt, and it shows you I was wrong, I thought N'Keal Harry was going to be a really good player. And he's been, I saw someone wrote in the Boston Globe, like, he's a bust. He's one of the biggest busts in Pat's history. Like, that's pretty crazy. But this guy flew under the radar a little bit.
Real quick, John, sorry. Bill's inability to draft a receiver is kind of crazy.
He did have a touchdown against the Chargers. Now, it was a blowout, but I think it's clear this guy translates much better in the league, right? He's faster.
No question.
He plays really fast. I honestly think these guys, and this is why I think Justin Jefferson, I think Jalen Reagor will be fine. I think Judy, I think Ruggs is going to be fine. You can't touch these guys. So when you're fast, doesn't it feel like the play speed of fast wide receivers in the NFL, DBs are just always chasing them? I mean, that's literally their job to chase. But when I got to the league like a decade ago, a lot of guys could mirror. That's what I wrote in scouting reports a lot of time. This guy, his mirror skills are well. Who mirrors wide receivers anymore? Like, I think Diggs is going, ain't nobody in the fucking league covering me unless I play Jalen Ramsey and I'm on the Bills. I never play Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah.
Right? Like, where are the Revises? Where are just...
I mean, Darius Slay did it against DK and it didn't matter.
Well, and then he played Devontae and Devontae killed him. Like, he's one of the better corners in the NFL and he is getting destroyed. I wonder if a lot of guys, and it's just that used to play wide receiver would also play corner and then they kind of split 50-50. And now it feels like the overwhelming majority, because you catch touchdowns in college, so many, you throw the ball, it's gone like 85 to 90 to 10. Like, all those guys now play wide receiver. And the jugs machine, you can just work on your hands. And like, just maybe a Brandon Aiyuk or a Justin Jefferson 20 years ago, a couple of those guys would have been DBs. And they would have been like first or second round DBs. And now they're just all wide receivers. Because it's going to feel like this again, Guy, this draft coming up. It's just going to be.
Well, Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase are both going to be. I mean, this could be a good draft, but they'll probably both be top 15 receivers. It's hard to know. I mean, they'll be top 10 talents.
Who say that?
Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith.
I wonder if like Justin Jefferson and Brandon Aiyuk make teams like, let's draft another guy earlier and then get a wide receiver in the second round. That's probably how I'd approach it. Unless
I'm just saying those two. Will those two go in the top?
Yeah, I mean, think about it. The Dolphins are going to need a wide receiver for Tua. Yeah, they'll go high.
But you're right. I mean, there are just going to be a bunch of guys that position does feel like it ends up being really good value in like the 20s and the 30s.
Yeah,
it's proven to be.
I think the other thing with Aiyuk is ideally you want two wide receivers and you want a good ebb and flow with the two guys. Like you don't want two guys to be the same.
You want a yin and yang.
And that's where I think the irony of looking at the Vikings, like Thielen and Diggs, perfect for each other. Now Thielen and Jefferson balance each other out. And I heard Cousins on Pardon My Take, and they asked him, like, did you know right away? He's like, yeah, to be honest, I didn't. He's like, I didn't know till week 3 or 4 when we thought he was only a slot guy, and we moved him out wide, and he's been killing it ever since. That's the thing about Brandon Aiyuk. They had a role for him immediately, knew what they wanted him to do. Like, I think when we talk about Ruggs, it still feels like they're trying to figure out exactly how to use him. Like, Brandon Aiyuk can just play like a wide receiver. Just run slants, run curls, run goes. Like, he kind of can do it all. Like, Debo's a little more scheme dependent.
But luckily he's in the right spot. But you're right. Like, he just might what he is at his best is what he is with Mullins or with, Aaron Rodgers probably. Well, maybe that's not fair. Rodgers would help him to be better, but
he gets a lot of balls within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage.
But
right?
ideally he wouldn't have to. Like, ideally he could catch the ball down the field too, right? Like, I think he has that ability.
Yeah.
I think he does what he has to do right now. Like, that's part of this is like Aiyuk, honestly, and I texted you this, he's what I thought Ruggs, and I like Ruggs, but he's what I thought Ruggs was going to look like.
Well, Guy, in a perfect world, you would have 3 guys that perfectly complement each other. Aiyuk, Kittle, and Debo. Like, just those 3 guys, they all do. Because I watch the Chiefs, you just go, Kelsey, Tyreek, and Mahomes are just like the triple. Like, they all do different things. Obviously, one's a quarterback, but they just complement each other perfectly. And even watching that Sunday night game, when Sammy came back in, you got Sammy just running these quick outs and ins, and it's like he's kind of working the intermediate game. You got Tyreek flying all around and Kelsey just abusing linebackers and safeties. And you're like, the ebb and flow of the offense is perfect. And that's where I think like the Rams are a good example. Like all their guys kind of do. Kupp works quick. Robert Woods a true wide receiver. They got the tight ends. You want balance, and the Niners have created perfect balance of their group. Right? This guy's just immediately good. He's going to be good. Just keep these guys healthy. You got it. And sometimes with wide receivers, hell, I think the Eagles are ready to cut Rager till last week he took the punt. It's like, okay, he might be able to make some plays.
How about Ayuk's little punt return? That's the other thing. Like, he can do that. He had a nice little punt return on the you remember it because it was the only punt the Bills had.
I find it, and I get it. When a guy becomes this good this fast, I get a little.
I wouldn't put him. They had to put him out there. I'm with you. I wouldn't do it either. By the way,
I would sign this offseason just a punt kickoff guy. Like that guy's just their job, and he plays special teams. Cordarrelle Patterson actually has become like the most elite special teams guy ever.
Pull up some return. Yeah, I mean, he leads the league in returns.
And he's the gunner. Like to me, now there aren't. It's a little bit like the NBA. Like, how many wide receivers are you going to come across? Like, here's what I want you to be. I want you to be my kickoff man. I want you to be my punt returner. And I really want you to dominate as a gunner. They'd be like, fuck you.
And maybe I can use you in some special packages as a running back.
You're like, it pays pretty well. Pay you like 3.5, 4 a year. I'm like, I'd rather be a sweet wide receiver, even if most guys aren't going to become that. Like, they just look at what the top guys make. Even if I'm a role guy, I can get to 10. Right, yep. And I don't have to get slammed as a gunner. I give Cordarrelle Patterson a lot of credit. He adapted. Now, he might have been forced into it, but he pivoted and just. I'm watching him. I watched the Bears game the other day, just on condensed version. He's going to have like a 3 or 4 more year window of just being known as like the Matt Slater on steroids.
And I'm with you. I didn't think that.
I thought he was like out of the league 3 or 4 years ago.
By the way, who do you think the closest person to DK Metcalf in the league is right now?
In what?
Just being DK, like that effect.
I mean, I'd say Tyreek's probably the top guy, even more than DK. I'd say those 2 guys are just on a tier by themselves.
Yeah, my point is like, just looking at the numbers, Justin Jefferson's right there because DK leads the league in yards, even though he's got 98 catches. Right, Diggs has 121 catches. which is the most catches. Actually, Keenan has 133. That's the most.
Are those targets or catches?
Oh, sorry, targets. Most catches is.
Doesn't Diggs have 90? I looked today.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Keenan and Diggs have 90. Sorry, I was looking at targets.
But when you say they're gonna end up around 120, if they just keep going.
Which is
5 games left.
Keenan rolls out of
8
bed
a game.
and has 120 catches.
Yeah.
DK leads the league in yards. He's almost 18 yards per catch. Justin Jefferson 17. And he's 4th in yards. Tyreek's 3rd in yards at 15 because Tyreek has more catches than those two guys. Really, I mean, Kelsey's 2nd in yards.
He's a monster.
Kelsey has more catches than Tyreek. He's got more catches than.
You want here's a take?
Kelsey has almost as many catches as DeAndre Hopkins and for more yards.
Non-quarterback, offense and defense. Is there a better? Because remember when Kelsey got paid and we're like, God, he took less than Kittle. Remember, he was like kind of a team friend, but it was like an add-on to his extension.
Yeah.
Is there a better contract given what he produces in the NFL? Because all those guys you're listing, like if DK, he's only in year 2, but when he's contract extension eligible, it's going to be like 25. It's going to be enormous. They got Kelsey on a deal that I think that pays like 14, 15 a year. Maybe it's like 13. And he is just as productive as all these guys, right? As the receivers. And you watch him, you go, yeah, he just kind of looks like a receiver too. I mean, but he's bigger.
Mismatch everywhere.
Yeah, I think the receiving core, I don't know if there's like a Randy Moss playing right now, a guy that's going to go down as like 2 or 3 best all time, but it's got guys that who would you not want out of this group? Because DK and Justin Jefferson, I mean, they're like 21 and 22 years old. Imagine what Justin Jefferson's going to be like in a couple of years. Honestly, that's one of the all-time just win-win trades. You get Diggs for 22, we get Justin Jefferson. I don't think either team. Diggs is clearly their best player, right? Him and Allen. And then clearly for the Minnesota Vikings, who are sneaky in the playoffs right now, I don't think they would trade having Justin Jefferson on a much cheaper contract. And it sure seems like everyone loves the guy.
Terry McLaurin.
I love as much as I hate lose trades, I love a good win-win trade.
Win-win trade, yeah.
Just sweet.